at the Reliance Festival this weekend. It's brought to us by Nicole Sauce of Living Free in Tennessee and John Willis at SOE Gear, Special Operations Equipment, and that's where we're at right now. This is Sunday, the second day. Yesterday we had several speakers and stuff we listened to, and today we've got a few more. We've got one left. Right now, right here behind us is all of John's animals and stuff he has on his place here. He's got several rabbits and guineas and chickens and a couple dogs. He's got a couple Great Pyrenees. Yep, laying down. What have you thought about this weekend?
It's been good. It's been, I think before it was kind of, I was worried I wasn't going to understand what was going on. Like, I don't know, kind of would feel out of place, I guess, just because I didn't know exactly what it would be like.
Yeah.
But it's been good, and all the classes, for the most part, have been helpful, and you could understand. The speakers were very understandable. Like,
yeah.
They were relatable for the most part.
Here, SOE makes like tactical gear, so it ain't. I was kind of afraid it'd be all tactical stuff, kind of.
Yeah.
But it's not. There's normal people here too. You know what I mean? It ain't just gunfighter people.
Yeah. Even though like they had the classes already, like the program already made before you came, I was still like, this isn't going to have anything to do with what I'm able to learn. Right. I'm not going to be able to understand what's going on, but it's been good.
Yeah, I mean, it's more about self-reliance and homesteading than it is like the tactical stuff.
Yeah.
Because yesterday there's a lot of, I guess the main topics was medical, which that was good to learn. That's something I've always wanted to learn more about. Today is being actually more permaculture type stuff, like foddering trees, and then the last guy was microclimates. And the last speaker today is going to be sharpening, like knives plus anything on your homestead. So if you're iffy about coming here, just come and you'll have a good time.
It's not expensive either.
No, we got the early tickets, and it was $30. The next one they're having is July 11th, and it's $35 if you buy it. And I think you got till April something to buy them.
Yeah.
So, if you bought the tickets here at the door, I think it went up to like $75. So you want to buy them first thing.
And you get a free meal.
Yeah, there's a Harley Davidson place in New Jersey sponsored the meal. So the first 200 people here got a free meal yesterday. I think there was a little over 200 people here, and so I'm sure next time they'll probably even a little more. So, and as you can tell back here behind us, parking may be the issue next time, because his whole shop here, that's his actual business where he makes all the nylon tactical gear, and it's like full inside with vendors and of course all of his equipment.
He like literally just scoots everything out.
Yeah, he just like pushes everything away and makes a row for vendors, and then all around this whole building is parking, and it's pretty much full right now. Also around his building there's people set up, like over here behind us is blacksmithing. Behind the other building, or behind the building, there was a guy throwing knives and doing archery. There's a setup over here in front of the building. Behind the other side of the building he's got container gardens and aquaponics going. And he uses wood chips on stuff, like you can see it here. Behind his building he's got a huge pile of wood chips. But him and anybody else around here is all helpful, and they'll actually talk to you and kind of get to know you and everything.
And when somebody is like, I'm new to this land, or maybe I have been on it for a while, but I'm just starting to really want to hang out and do stuff with it, I like to go out and meet them, and we'll just kind of walk the place. I'll take notes, I'll take photos, I'll look at the topography map, I'll look at Google Earth and all that good stuff. and I kind of help them understand what's going on with it, understand how to utilize it. It's real close to what Nick does. There's probably quite a bit of overlap, and really Nick gets a lot of credit for me being where I'm at today with the business because I've been following his work for so long. I was like, oh, this is a thing. This is a thing that can be done. So we get out there, we walk, and over the years I've found that really what I like to identify are the microclimates. So you can kind of take it at a larger level, like West Tennessee, flatter, kind of microclimate, kind of a, you've got this river basin for you guys that have driven over towards Waverly. You've got that. You get to the plateau and your elevation's up, you're going to be a little colder, your winds might be higher. You tend to see a lot of those straight line winds come across and tear the trees down. I'm in Knoxville, so I'm kind of like foothills of the Smoky Mountains, whole different. We'll watch the weather like split and not even hit the valley, but like go down Chattanooga and go over top and kind of like hit Morristown. So there's that aspect. There's the large kind of sweeping microclimate. But what really got me interested was being on my little urban lot that we moved on to in 07, just a little 5th-acre lot, and I was like, okay, I want a garden. So I found, the best spot, south facing, the most sun, and built my raised beds and had my little gardens, and I was like, okay, that's cool. I want to do more. And that's when I stopped sleeping at night because I would wake up and I would think about, I bet I could grow this in that area because the microclimate is specifically suited to it. So, one of the first microclimates that I really effectively used was the house was stucco, so I've got all this thermal energy that side of the house is going to store in the sun. So we use red for warm. So west is this way. And I know everybody was saying like south facing for the most heat exposure, but the way that the house is oriented, that late day sun coming in warmed this side of the house so much. Early in spring, when I wanted things like peas and you could start stuff like beets and radishes and your young kind of ground crops. So I built a trellis through here on this west wall. It was about 20 feet long, and I was growing peas in February. And I'm not talking about like little pea sprouts, but I was getting flowering peas in February just because of that thermal energy that was stored there. And then when it would be too hot and the peas would be pooping out because they're over, they don't want to be fried anymore, I pull all that out and replace it and get my tomato starts in there and use the tomatoes, use the maybe let the green beans climb, that kind of thing, and started like that interplanting kind of method. So look for where your heat collects. Heat's always going to be higher. Think about any kind of thermal energy being stored by any kind of building. Like I said, like any kind of masonry is going to store more than wood. There's one option. So when you guys get back home and you're walking around, start thinking about where the energy is stored and how the weather moves around it. So heat's great. Heat's useful. Also, cool is useful. If you like your salad greens and maybe you want to try to grow them a little later in the season, then typically they like to hang out. As you know, like most salad greens, as soon as it gets hot, they'll fold. I would start a second set of plants into about May, early May, and I had a east, kind of a more or less northeast facing corner where my deck, so I've got a deck here, side of house here, I said north, didn't I? Northeast, super shady corner. I could grow lettuces in here way after lettuces everywhere else in the full sun were getting wiped out, where they're just setting seed because to them the season's over. So there's your cold, there's your warm, and then you can also have your wet dry. So again, little urban lot. We're at the street side. And, you know, paved street, kind of technically a 2-lane, but more like a 1-lane, no yellow lines. But still, like, a lot of thermal energy being held in this street. And I noticed that the grass here, the weeds and all that stuff, were always fried. Because I think it was the heat from the road and just all that, like that road grit, just kind of like gross, kind of like the stuff that comes off your shingles, just nothing real good, nothing real organic was kind of washing into that area. So I ended up doing, if you guys have heard of hugelkultur, that's where you're taking like logs and carbon debris and you're laying it out on the ground, or if you're really motivated, you can bury it. But I just laid out a bunch of logs. Watch this artistry right here. Log. I did a whole row all the way around, maybe coming out about 5 or 6 feet, and let them break down. Threw a bunch of wood chips in there, threw in a whole bunch of mulch, and because it stayed so dry and so warm, all my Mediterranean herbs were super happy there. So I had like lavender and rosemary and you name it, all kinds of mint, stuff that doesn't like to be bogged down in water. Perfect microclimate for those guys, which I kind of saw what was going on, but then I helped along the process too. Oh, let's see. Another shady trick. I had another corner that stayed super cold, and well, I say cold, but it stayed shaded most of the time. And I was raising earthworms to use in composting to make compost teas. I would put together kits of earthworms for people to start their own systems. And because this area stayed so cool, in true redneck style, I had a clawfoot tub that I pulled out of the bathroom for renovation. Worms. And I was able, because I have been doing them in plastic bins, but they're getting too hot. And that clawfoot tub, as long as I kept plenty of material in it, and basically it was just down to like soil and then the stuff I would feed them, those worms were happy. But I could also easily just take the cover off so they didn't get too wet, take the cover off and dig around and have handfuls of worms for the fishermen or me on the off chance I got to go fishing, and just took advantage of that shade. I use cooler microclimates for things that didn't get fully sun, like strawberries did really well. Blueberries, like an edge. And when you're walking the property, edge is a good point. When you're walking your property, see what's filling in the edge. See what wants to be like kind of semi-sheltered. And you can transplant things. You can kind of do like Nick does, and figure out what you want to coppice and pollard. Just what wants to hang out there on its own. So I've got maybe one more slide here. Okay, so due south, super sunny, super hot. I've got sun coming in almost all day long at the end of my deck, which I have covered, or I've roofed it with metal roof, and I've screened it, but it's still hot as can be. And I wanted some kind of screening. And this is why you guys need to look at my Google Slides, because it's so much nicer than this. But I needed screening for that deck because I had a seed starting system on it. We had a couple of hammocks out there. It was an itty bitty deck, but there was enough room to like hang out. And I have all my little, like I said, basically just a little miniature greenhouse inside of it. I wanted to know what could handle full sun, but would come up a lot quicker than like tomatoes. If you've ever seen Nicole's wall of tomatoes at the holler, very good idea, and that worked very effectively for her. But I wanted something that came in sooner. As it turns out, Cascade hops, the hops that you use to flavor alcoholic beverages, are very well adapted, very heat tolerant. In fact, they love it, and they climb quick. They're probably coming up right now. You'll start seeing little shoots that come out. They look like extra small asparagus, you give them some stringers, and not only will they climb up, but they'll climb across, they'll climb over, and if I let them, they would eventually wind up on the roof. They'll go up to 25 feet. This was only like 10 or 12 feet that they climbed, but they filled in to where it was like complete privacy. I mean, I kind of wish I could have put a hot tub on that deck because completely private. I had them come all the way around, and it was just one more way of kind of taking advantage of all of that sun. So we've got one more, water. When we got this place in the city, which as soon as I had it exactly the way I wanted it, I sold it and moved out to the country. But we had a water problem, and in true permaculture style, you want to try to find the problem, but turn it into your solution. So we were in a bowl. Our house was in a bowl on the street, and we had water coming from both directions, and we had one crappy little drain back in the alleyway that always got clogged and never did us any good. So I have water coming under the house, and I'm pumping it out, and I'm mad. And eventually when it dried out, I was like, well, it looks like there wants to be a pond in the backyard. So I made one. By hand, dug it out, eventually wound up with, a pond. It was about 10 feet across, maybe 10 by 10, something like that. Threw a little fountain in it so that when I did have water in it, I didn't have a mosquito larva either. Just kept the water moving a little bit. And it's the craziest thing. We're a few blocks away from like the nearest body of water. It's a little creek. And after 2 or 3 months of having water in this little pond, like there's lizards and frogs and cattails coming up, just stuff. I didn't put it there. It just showed up. So that's super cool. So I just kind of, like Nick was saying, just kind of created this little mini ecosystem on, like I said, it was a 5th acre lot. It was 100 foot by 50 approximately, with my house taking up 950 square feet of that. And eventually, as I understood these microclimates, I just kept tucking stuff in. And like I said, I would literally wake up in the middle of the night thinking about, I could put that there, So as soon as I'm through this 12-hour shift, I'm going to start that. So, and the other thing is, you can put this to work regardless of the size of your property. If you have a small property, in some ways, I prefer going out to 1 acre or less, because you can keep everything so close to your house. You don't have, it's fine if you want to have huge acreages and you want to run all kinds of animals and whatnot and have all of this room to do fodder trees and all those kind of systems. But most of us spend most of our time within, a few, I don't know, not even a minute or two walk of our house. So when you're kind of strolling around your property, find those natural paths and start looking for where those little microclimates are. Start looking for what wants to be where. If an area is bare of soil, there's a reason for that. And if it's not just because you had equipment on it, but if it's just constantly bare, think about what's causing that. And like I said, keep everything close. When you're doing your walks, and you've got your little harvesting basket with you, that's your opportunity to just check on every little system you've got going on. And don't feel like you have to. It's kind of a fine line. You can utilize everything, but don't squash so much in that you can't turn around either. Or that, probably at the bare minimum, I tell people, if you have to mow, if that's still a thing, at least be able to get a push mower through. Just because they were for instance, I built some raised beds too close together because I was trying to maximize space, and it was before I had wood chipped everything heavily, so I still had to get in there to kind of manage the grass. It just wasn't a lot of fun with a weed eater, squeezing my way through. So leave yourself room to walk, leave yourself room to get a wheelbarrow through, but also, my little strip of peas, this was, it was 18 inches wide, the little bed that I had cultivated, that I dug out next to the house, put these posts in the ground, run line, and then parked pea seeds in the ground. So, and I would get a few pounds of peas off of that for a few weeks. So that's pretty much what I got for you guys. I'll be hanging out. I've got a few, Strong Roots Resources is the name of the company, if I didn't tell you that. When you call me or email me, you get me. Kerry Brown is Strong Roots Resources. I like to come out and do property walks. I like to help you do a little bit of design. I don't do very much physical design in terms of stuff on paper, but I'll give a lot of suggestions, and then what I do try to offer is certain packages. When you buy them, You can communicate with me back and forth, email, phone call, a second follow-up visit if you're not too far away, to kind of help you through your process of developing your homestead and developing your systems. I do have a few, sassafras trees. If you guys like to make root beer, I've got sassafras trees, and they're a cool native tree that, one thing, the deer won't chew them down to the ground, which is nice. The leaves are used traditionally after they're dried in soups and stews, like to make like a root, like a thickening agent. And then of course you can harvest the roots for teas and flavor your root beers or your adult beverages or anything that rocks your world like that. So I'm looking forward to lunch. If you guys have fun. So I'm just gonna hang. If y'all want to chat, come find me. I like to share what I know. I like to hear what other people have learned. This has been a great event. I thank John and Nicole and everybody for throwing this on. It's rocking my world. So thanks, guys.